All right, homies, it's Chapadong here, and it's main slate Tuesday time. Let's dive in. What is it? Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Tuesday or Wednesday? Which one is it? Either way, I'm wasting time. Looks like Wednesday to me. Too tight player pool. Diving on in here from DFSArmy.com. One stop shop on all things daily fantasy sports. You know the drill. Use our cheat sheets. Use our systems. Become a better player. And every single sport, every single slate is covered at DFSArmy.com. So use the coupon code DFSArmy, get a 10% off discount, and get your butt in here and start winning more money. Pretty darn simple. Now, what we're going to talk about again is what we always talk about this time of day. We're going to build a too-tight player pool for cash games. I'm going to do FanDuel and DraftKings and hopefully have time to come back to FanDuel and show you the 100-man league adjustments from the video we put out earlier this morning telling you what the top offenses might be. So let's dive in. Let's boogie, and let's make it happen. We've already got it set up 5 lineups, optimal mode, 2 uniques. Why? I'm just giving it a little bit of spread. That's all. I don't want all the lineups to be the same, but I don't want them to be vastly different. I'm talking about cash game stuff where I'm putting together the tightest player pool I can. So I sort by projected ownership. Trust that industry ownerships are leading me to the correct place. That's what I'm doing. That's my research. I'm trusting the fact that the industry ownership rankings are on the right place. That's why everybody's on them. Okay? And then I'm just going to let the numbers play themselves out. I'm going to go to position by position and say, well, Max Scherzer at 30% is probably the chalk. Garrett Cole ain't a bad option. So either one, whichever one you want to pick on, go for it. Your choice. Don't need a catcher at 10% probably. I'm looking for generally 15% and above on slates, but I'm looking more for drop-offs, 22, 19, 18 down to 13. So I'll take the top 3 there. Guerrero, Rizzo, Abreu. Does that mean Aguilar is a bad play? No. Garrett Cooper's had some good numbers lately, but not enough people have him tonight, theoretically, for him to make much of a difference for you. He's more of a risk if he fails than Vladimir Guerrero, because Vladimir Guerrero is going to take more ships down with it. And we don't need to be contrarian in cash games to win them. We're just trying to get in top half. If 22% of people had Vladimir Guerrero and he got a 0, well, that just means that, 28 other people in a 100-man 50-50 are going to cash with him. That's okay. You can still get into that spot and make the money. But if you want to include a couple of these guys, sometimes we make some exceptions. Like we see a guy running really hot, whatever. Garrett Cooper might be that guy. Jesus Aguilar, probably not. But he's been hot already this year. Ian Happ, 21, 19, 18, 17, 17. Okay, so look at the big drop-off between LeMahieu and Michael Chavis. So give me any of these 4 guys. I don't care which ones. Donaldson, fine. Chapman, that's a big drop-off from 17 to 11. So we'll stop there. Tim Anderson at the top, down to, looks like about Bo Bichette. Kiner Falefa if you want, I guess, but he's a little lower owned. Don't really need him. It's probably going to take one of those other guys anyway, so don't get too bent out of shape over who it takes and who it doesn't. You're just trying to play this game correctly, right? Mike Trout I would always include, even if he's 3% owned. Suzuki, I guess, I'd have to look at the game logs to see if it's somebody that I really like. Oh, they just bumped on us. Joey Gallo went to the chalk. He's one I typically don't use because I feel like there's a lot of leverage in getting off and watch. I'm going to take Springer and Cooper just to pick up Cooper from the earlier run because he qualifies as an outfielder too. We'll see if it even uses him. Joey Gallo, you can uncheck him if you want to for cash games. He's not a cash game bat, but enough people have him that if he scores you a 0, you can cash with him in your lineup still because he took enough people down with him. Okay, so I'll leave him in this time. It's pretty rare that I do that. I'll run my 5 lineups. Looks like it likes Max Scherzer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dudes at 100%. Ian Happ, Josh Donaldson, Joey Gallo, and Teoscar Hernandez seem to be the core of players that we're spinning around right now. As lineups confirm, these numbers will change. But I'm going to go through and make sure I don't really see too much stacking, too much stuff going on in one specific area, like 3 Jays versus 2. Might opt for the 2. Ian Happ, Donaldson, Gallo. Boy, that's a rough one to take, but it gets Mike Trout in there. There's old Garrett Cooper. It does like Mr. Garrett Cooper in that lineup. Come down, there's 3 Yankees instead of 3 Jays. There's 2 Yankees, 2 Jays, Garrett Cooper again. Guerrero, Teoscar Hernandez, Gallo, Donaldson seems to be who it loves. Ian Happ, Abreu, Scherzer, whichever one you think makes the most sense, run with it. If you want to make a little pivot here or there, that's okay too. I make them. I don't run completely off of this lineup, but this lineup is viable in cash games. If I kick over and do the same thing over on DraftKings, it shouldn't take that long to set this thing up because we're just going to do it the exact same way we just did it. Main lineup, 2 unique plays, 5 unique lineups, and we're going to sort by projected ownership, and we're going to uncheck the box, and we're going to go for the pitchers. There's your 2 right there. Scherzer and Cole. It's going to be really expensive tonight. Gausman's carrying some ownership. Giolito's carrying some ownership. Watch, it'll probably put Giolito in with Scherzer or Cole, or it will run Scherzer and Cole. Don't need Smiley. Don't need those other guys. Probably don't even need Giolito or Gausman. Scherzer, Cole should probably be the play for cash games. Trevino, as a result, you're going to see some weak-ass punts coming. Contreras, Grandal, and then a big drop-off. First base, Rizzo's interesting, but look at the low ownership and the spread you're starting to pick up here. His first base is usually a little higher priced position, so we can come down here to Rivas. If we want to pick up Guerrero, that's fine. I don't think it's going to force him in with his salary. It's going to be using cheaper guys. LeMahieu, I like it. Everybody sees it. LeMahieu's a consistent cash player, so it's prioritizing him. Espinal, whatever. Let's go Tyler Wade. Let's throw him in there, even at lower ownership because of the cheap price. The optimizer may need it. Josh Donaldson, Moncada, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Ke'Bryan Hayes is a little bit much. Not a big fan, but Tim Anderson, Kiner Falefa again, Bichette, down to Velasquez. I would do this again because of the cheap pricing, and it's picking up on some of the ownership. Okay, $2,300 for Castro. Maybe it's not that big of a difference, but if you can tell the difference between these 2 players, good for you. I can't. Joey Gallo again, Aaron Judge, probably a lot of upside for Gallo compared to his cost, so people are taking a chance on it for the salary savings when they're going Scherzer and Cole. Mike Trout, Hicks, Springer, Suzuki. I'm looking for cheap guys. Teoscar, Vaughn. Now we're starting to get into the low-owned stuff again. Maybe it'll pick up a Gavin Sheets. So as a result, I need to adjust this just a smidge, so I take a 100th of a point off of him, 100th of a point off of him, jump up here, let him rip. Scherzer, Cole, 100%. There it is. That was predictable. Tim Anderson, Gallo, Ortega, Trevino, that's fine. And then we're just going through. I don't want to see all that many Yankees in there, right? Like I would try and limit. There's 3 there and 3 Sox. That lineup to me for cash games is a little bit better than the 5 Yankee stack. I guess it's not 5. It's got Garrett Cole in it. So what, 1, 2, 3 versus 3. So there's 3. Okay, so these are viable. I would take about a max of 3 unless I absolutely had to. There's 1, 2 Yankees, 1, 2, 3 Sox, 2 Angels, and a Cubby. Taylor Wade, Mike Trout. I love Trout when I can use him. Moncada's been good. Anderson's been pretty good lately, a little up and down. Abreu's turned it on lately. That's a pretty good lineup. I mean, these are all going to make pretty good lineups. That's just how it's going to roll, right? And it doesn't matter as long as you're using that player pool. Even on DraftKings, look how tight the player pool is. 35 players. That's why we call it the too tight player pool. As long as it uses anyone in that player pool that that we are selecting for it, I don't really care what the combination of those players is. 22 players, 20 to 25 on FanDuel is usually where we run. Now, what would I do? I would check them all back on FanDuel, right? I'm not capping anybody, not doing anything to anybody. And then I'm going to come to tournament mode, maybe expand it to about 3 uniques to get some more spread in those lineups. I'm going to add in some randomization. I even would allow 1 hitter against the pitcher. That guy hits a home run. It subtracts 3 points off of your FanDuel pitcher. It adds 18 to his score. It's a net gain of 15. That can be the difference in winning you a GPP. Is the optimizer going to go looking for putting a guy against your pitcher? No. Can you run 100 lineups and not even notice it? Yes, because it might not even use it at all, but at least it has the option if it wants to. And sometimes that little bit of random goofiness that goes against the textbook is a way to go. So now that everybody is checked back, I go to my stacking options. And if you remember what we said before, there's 3x2, 4x, 4x3, whatever. Randomly select those teams. Remember what we said? Miami's in a good spot. Philly and San Diego are in good spots. Yankees are in a good spot. Skipping some of those games around. If you wanted to include some of this, you could. Angels are in a good spot. Sox are in a good spot. So if I come over here and I've checked them back, there's LA, there's Chicago, Miami, New York, Chicago, San Diego, Philly. There they are. Let's say no more than, say, 25% of any given team. That way I get a mix of some of these teams. I'm randomly selecting these teams as well because I want it randomly picking from this second side, not so much targeted projection-wise. This is what kind of works in the 100-man league. I'm already cutting down my players. See, if you're using all of the teams in a big 150 MME build, you're using 40% or so because you're wanting to get at least 3 teams, but you're letting the projections drive it and say, put these best teams in with everybody so that when I get 2% KC, I'm probably getting, a big amount of the chalky projection heavy secondary stack. And that's what I want because I'm going to get them a lot with the chalky teams. I want them with the lower owned teams as well. That way, when that team does what it's supposed to do, it helps all of my first stacks. But when you're narrowing down these players, right, to like 5 or 6 teams, when you're narrowing down these teams, now you can make it spread out a little bit more, and you can even randomly mix them back and forth. I don't want Texas mixing in with the LA Angels necessarily. I don't mind if LA mixes in with Miami, though. So I'm going to do the exact same thing and check back just the teams that I want. You can see I've already been playing with the MME type of stuff earlier today on that first run that I did in that previous video, and then Philly and San Diego. But over here, I'm going to put them back to 0. And I'm going to make this one say 25% as well. I want at least 4 teams on one side and at least 4 teams on the other mixing together. And I want to get an idea of where the optimizer wants to go. That's all I'm after. These 100-man leagues, I'm focused down on the top teams, the teams that are big offenses facing bad pitching. That's all I'm really focused on. I'm not going to play specific player stuff or any of that. I've checked back everybody so I can get different pitchers, right? Like I can get some Garrett Cole in 55% of what I do, but I can also pick up some Scherzer or some Giolito or take some chances on some other guys if I want to. I may not choose those stacks, but there's Garrett Cole with 3 Toronto Blue Jays and 2 Yankees. Okay, with Mike Trout as a one-off. Fine. Simeon as a one-off. He can hit a home run. That's fine. That lineup could work. That one's a little bit scattershot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4x3 Yankees and Sox. That's fine. Abreu, Garcia, Anderson. That's fine. The one-off is Teoscar Hernandez. The pitcher is Max Scherzer. Strong lineup. 4 and 3 Cubs. Cubs against Pittsburgh. They should score some runs today with Garrett Cole as the pitcher. Fine, right? I'm not really too bent out of shape over it. And Jose Abreu is the one-off who came from another game that we like in the Chicago White Sox. Cubs, whatever. Marlins as a one-off. Cubs and Sox. Yankees, Angels, if you'd rather that combo. There's the Padres and the Yankees. So it really looks like it's favoring the Yankees. If I go into these stacks and take a peek, there's a lot of Angels in the big stack, a lot of Yankees in the big stack. Chicago, and then down here it's mixing with, it looks like a pretty wide spread, 3 lineups of each and 2 of a couple of others. So, okay, pretty good spread. Cubs, Phillies, San Diego. I wonder if there's a San Diego, Philly, San Diego, LA with a Teoscar Hernandez one-off. Wonder if there is some Phillies and San Diego. If you think that game shoots out with Aaron Judge as a one-off, hello. Garrett Cole as your pitcher, hello. That's a pretty strong lineup, provided these 2 offenses do what they're supposed to do and you catch a couple of good pieces. You're going to be pretty low owned with some of these guys, and that's okay for these 100-man leagues. You're staying in the chalkier offenses. You're staying in the more sensible offenses, but you're going to end up with some lower owned stack pieces and whatever else. If those guys have good games, that's how you drive that lineup into the top. I would take 2 or 3 of these lineups, and I would enter them in a 3 max. Something along those lines. And on a given night, you've got pretty good chances of being competitive, min cashing, or getting deeper into the tournament structure. It's really all you're after doing. This is what our 100-man league is doing. The 100-man league is starting to turn it on, placed 3rd and 7th last night. Starting to come up a little bit after a cold start. And our cash games are clicking at a record of like 17 and 6, which is pretty freaking redonkulous considering that this is all we're doing to build these lineups. No research, nothing, just button clicking, understanding what wins, and understanding how to get the optimizer to choose those winning plays for you, and then just mix them up how it sees fit. This is the easiest way for you to create a baseline and start growing your DFS game. If that interests you, dfsarmy.com. I'm Chapadong, and I'll help you get started. Peace out, homies. We'll talk to you real soon.